Hello everyone, and in this video I want to show how to create this landscape where if I let's say play right now, you could see this is how we can create a nice landscape. It also has this side cliffs, which again I have to work on it and put better texture on it, but again we can also automatically add this side cliff, create this landscape, and the colors and all are like nice. You could see if I go up around here, you could see there's like nice color blending, even adding this texture, or sorry, the paint materials and all. One thing to keep in mind is that in this video we are just going to create this landscape with paint and all, and in the next video we will add this stylized grass on it, and then I'll slowly create like each part for like stylized trees. I'm also working on creating a waterfall, like stylized waterfall like this. It still needs to be like practiced and work done. For example, also this stylized cliff, I still have to practice how to make this, but again now I know how to create this landscape, and there are videos online which show how to do this, but I think the way I explain is something that my brain could understand, so I thought that it would be good to create something that you guys can also understand, or from my perspective. So again, in this video we are just going to create this landscape. Next video we'll create the stylized grass. So I'm just going to create a new empty level, call it 04 tutorial stylized or something. Let's open this quickly. I'm actually going to go into low, and one thing to keep in mind that in low settings, if you are planning to make stylized grass in low settings, it would not be visible. Foliages and I think like the grass material does not show in low. We are not going to create grass material in this video, but still I want to tell you guys in case you were making something. So if we go into the landscape, we have option of creating a new, which would create a completely plain stuff. Before that we should have created, if you go to Windows, go to environment light mixers, you can create our light like this. There we go. And this is our landscape. Basically you could go into sculpt mode, and then if you go to brush, you can sculpt it however you want. So if you want to create a custom shape and all, you could do that manually. I think it takes too much time to do all this stuff unless you are planning to make like some small area. So what I'm instead going to do is I'm just going to delete this landscape, go and click on landscape, and if you click on import to file, you could actually add a height map file. So if you search for free height maps, you can actually get like lots of free height maps. And if you go to this Reddit post, there's like a website, someone has linked a website called Manticorp, github.io, Unreal height maps, and basically you can get any location in this world and create a height map. I haven't really used it, but there's also this another website, Motion Forge Pictures, where they have CC0 1.0 universal creative license, where you could use these height maps too, like this. There's also software called Gaia 2.0, which allows you to export height map, but it doesn't allow you to export height map in like the highest quality, but it does a great job at doing that stuff. So this is a texture that I had created in Gaia. I'm also not really familiar with this software, but I was able to generate like a very basic one. You can see it's only like 1.33 MB. So let's go into our import from file, click on here, and we have to choose that file. So I'm just going to choose it like this, and you could see how this is looking. It has now imported all the data which was in that height map. So if I create, let's see, if I do import right now without changing any settings, it's going to look like very absurd, you could see. So we can actually play around with the scale from the z-axis to make it look much more better, like this, and do import, and we get this height map which is all the landscape and all. And again, with the free version we can only import like 1000 by 1000 the texture, which is why it would not be much more detailed, I think, but I think it's okay. I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make it like a lot smaller because I don't really want it to be this big. So, and I think that this looks like good enough. And then now I don't really need to sculpt like every single thing. So let's start by creating our material. So if we click material, do m underscore landscape. I'm going to call it landscape stylized. And it's always good to create a material instance. So create mi underscore landscape stylized like this, because with material instance we can actually change the values like pretty quickly. And again, dragging does not work on landscape, so we have to select a landscape, go in here and add it manually. Let's do save, and everything just turned into black. So let's go to our landscape, and here I'm going to do some changes. So first of all, we need to create a landscape layer blend. So landscape layer blend, you could think of it as Photoshop layers, where each layers we can like paint with like different colors and all. In this landscape layers, we can add some color values. So I'm going to add, I guess, 4. And first one, I'm just going to call it as base grass. And you could say it change into layer base grass. The second one, I'm going to call it as base like old grass or something. Third one, I'm going to call it as, I guess, fresh grass or something. It's your choice how many you want. This one would be called as dirt. And I'm going to create one more, which would be dark dirt or something, I don't know. And what we are going to do is we're simply going to select this into our base color. To do some changes in here, I'm going to add a 3 vector, which is, if you type constant 3, like constant 3 vector, you could get this. The shortcuts are holding 3 and then pressing left click. If you press 1, it will create like one float 1, this is float 2, this is float 3, right? Because 3 values. And the third one we can actually use for colors too. And there's also fourth one, which is constant 4, which also has the alpha channel. So this one we are just going to create convert to parameter and call it as base grass. And before doing anything else, let's just add a group and call it as 00 underscore color. We'd add 00 around here because it just lines up nicely. We can also add like sort priority to line up. This one would be go into our base grass, and this one would be our base grass color. Let's copy this. This one we will call it as old grass. Make sure to change the name, okay, because else it both would be connected. Old grass should be around yellowish area. Connect it in here. This one we will call it as fresh grass. I guess somewhat in a nicer greener color. We will change this later, doesn't have to be perfect. Let's create the dirt. Somewhat like this, and create the dark dirt. Now let's just connect everything. Let's do apply. Again, you can actually change this to textures, which is actually like a better way to do it if you have like stylized textures and all. If you search for like stylized grass textures, if you go to images, you could see this type of textures are actually like a better way to do it instead of using like directly colors. But for now, let's just use that. Now as soon as we add all this stuff, let's do save. If you go back to our landscape and go to paint, again you are seeing that there are no layer brushes are showing around here, which is kind of annoying. And it's I don't know why sometimes it like works and sometimes it takes time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try removing this, which is like material from our landscape which we added, and then add this again like this in my landscape. And you could say it worked. Sometimes it might not work. You might need to like remove it around here, or try to like repaste this and then do apply again. I don't know why it happens, but just know that it is kind of annoying, but it works. So which color we want to apply first, we can just choose this base grass to weighted blended layer normal. There is non-weighted blended layer too, which I think it like places the stuff on top of each other. I don't know how this 100% works, but just know that in weight blended layers we can paint based on like the color that we want, or basically it creates like weight of texture where our color should show basically. I'm just going to do save. It's ideally you might need to like place it in a nicer folder, but because it's a tutorial and I don't want to make it like it a bit longer, I'm just placing it wherever it has given me direct option. But what I would have done was I would have created a folder. It already created a folder for me besides my level, but again create a folder and save it around here. This contains all the layer info. Now if I select my old grass and if I start painting, you could see I can now paint on stuff like this. Let's make this a bit higher. Again, when you're working with colors and all, it's better to choose like a scalability high, medium or epic instead of low. But if I try to do high or epic, my PC would not be able to handle because I'm recording right now. Okay, if I wasn't recording, I can do it on high or in epic and stuff. But you could see that we can actually now start painting. One more thing is the texture is not looking good because it's glossy and all. So let's go to our material for our landscape and make sure our land roughness is 0.9 and specular is 0. If I'm not wrong, lots of the stuff in the world has specular less than 0.5 and roughness is never 1, I think so, which is why I use 0.9 and 0. But again, it is a stylized nature, right? So it doesn't really matter. If you are trying for a realistic aspect, then yes. Now here's like tool strength. So if I do 100 and then press it once, also make the fall off to be 0. You could see it is now looking like this. If I increase the fall off, it would be like a nicer edges like this, and the tool strength is basically opacity. But you see, it would be kind of annoying to work with and like paint all this stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to go into my stylized, and in our layer grass, I'm actually going to create another one which would be called base grass 2. And this one I can make it, I guess, slightly different color. And here we will create a lerp, so which is linear interpolate. Search, right click and do linear interpolate, or you could press L and then do left click. It will add this. This one allows us to lerp basically allows us to use 2 different texture based on the alpha channel. So if our alpha channel is 0, it will use A. If our alpha channel is 1, it will use B. And if it's in below, then it will try to blend between both of these values. There are like lots of good videos on that, how linear interpolate works. So let me just first for texture sample, which is like this, and I'm going to convert this into a parameter and call it as grass noise texture. And if we scroll down, this texture might not be available for you. I'm going to select this one, but it would not be available, right? So you can actually use the link in description where I have my ArtStation page, and in that ArtStation you can actually get this texture. To show you what this texture is, it's actually like all this stuff, but if I just show you the R channel, this is the texture in R channel. In the G channel, this is the G channel, this is B channel texture. So basically what this is a packed texture. And what does packed texture mean? It basically means that you could add like 3 different texture, or actually 4 if you add in alpha channel. You could add 4 different texture in like one single image. And remember, when we use this one, we get this pins, right? R, G, B, A. So if I just use this R channel pin, I would only be showing this R texture. If I was using G, you could see the difference, right? It's a bit different, and the B one is like a lot darker. So if I use R channel, this is the texture that it would be using. So let me explain what we are doing. So if I go in here and do R like this, let's wait for it to update. If I go down, you could see, if I go like really down, you could see this is how it's looking. It is like tiled a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my UV coordinates, which is texture coordinate. So search for texture coordinate and you get this UV coordinate. We will add a multiply node, and I will actually create a video on UVs to understand how this works and what this does. But basically with multiply node, you could control the tiling of a texture like this. So with this one we can actually control the texture tiling. So if I go in here and select this what you call this plane, you could see that right now my texture is like applied like this, which is for one UV. If I do 2 with multiply, you could see it's one around here, one around here, one around here, and one around here. If I do 5, it's like 1 2 3 4 5, and then 1 2 3 4 5. Basically it's tiled. And if I do 0.5, it would be like only this much texture, so like one quadrant of this one. I will create a video explaining all the texture coordinate or UV coordinate video if you want to know more, but basically this allows us to tile texture. I'm going to promote this to a parameter so that we can control it with our material instance. Let's rename this to grass noise tiling, something like this. Again, this multiply, basically let's wait for it to, so this multiply I will keep it as 1. And again, 1, basically, you know, like if we multiply anything with 1, it basically does no changes, and if we do 0, then anything we multiply turns to 0. So we are doing 1 right now around here for this one, so no changes are happening. Now if I go to my material instance, go to this grass noise tiling, and if I make this smaller, you could see the tiling is like way bigger. So if I go on top, this is how big it is. If I make it like a lot smaller, I'm holding control to do like, if you hold control, you could do like much more better controls like this. And I'm just tiling it a lot like this. And what if we connect this into our lerp like this, what would happen is that wherever there is white color, if you don't know about textures, know that wherever there is white, it means 1. So one white is 1 and black is 0, and anything that is between, for example this one is not black and white, right? It's not pure black and not white, so it would be like 0.5, 0.6 or something. So this value basically gives us like different values. So 0, it gives us value between 0 to 1, and based on that it chooses which color to show. So wherever there is pure black, it will show one color, and wherever it is pure white, it will show one color, but when there is like 0.5, 0.6, it will try to do blend. So let's do apply. Again, I have connected this directly in here, okay? So just to show you guys. And you could see like there's like nice blend happening based on our our noise texture. You could see. So let's remove this and add it into our grass layer, and then connect it back to our base layer. And this is how it looks. We got some nice blending happening between two colors. So now we don't need to paint it everywhere, but if we go to landscape paint, we still need to do paint at some location. So now this is like way too big, so I'll only work around here. So if I hold shift while holding this old grass, I can just delete what I have already created, so we can start from scratch. Now instead of using let's say this brush, which is doing fresh grass, and using like a lower tool strength, and then trying to create some nice, you know, blending between like multiple colors like this. So instead of holding left click, I'm just doing left taps. Okay, so instead of doing it this way where we are trying to create some nice variation, what we can do is we can go into our brush type, and if we select this alpha brush, we can choose a texture around here. And I'm going to choose a texture called Super Perlin, which would not be available for you guys. So the way you could get is by searching for Screaming Brain Studios Noise. Choose this first link, itch.io. This is free texture, which is CC0. You could choose on download now. If you click on here, no thanks, then you could get it for free, but I would suggest if you have money to spare, support this guys. And then choose the 512 by 512. It comes up with lots of texture. One of it is the Super Perlin, which I like, but it's your choice which one you want. I'm going to increase the size of my noise like this. You could press the square buttons to scale it up and down. And now what's going to happen is when we paint, if we actually go and add a tool strength of something like this, if I paint with, let's say, you could see it is based on the texture that we have used. So wherever there is white color, it will apply this texture fully. Wherever there is gray, it would apply with lower opacity, and where it is black, it will not do anything at all. And when I say black, I mean pure black. Okay, let's make it like very high, so like this size. It's very big right now, and I'm just going to do tap. I'm not doing press. Okay, I'm doing tap, because if you press, it will start painting like this. We don't want that. Let's do tap, 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 tap. Let's select our base grass. Let's do tap, 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 tap. Let's select our fresh grass. Let's do tap, 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 tap. And keep doing it few more times until you are happy with what you get. I'm also going to go into my layer. Let me select my layer, this one, and let's make some color adjustment before. So let's do, where is it, fresh grass and also let me make this a bit darker. So I do think going with darker colors actually work better than going with lighter colors. It's okay to go in some bluish tint area, like between bluish grass and the other one, and then let's do some changes. So I think this looks okay. I'm going to go into landscape and do tap, tap, tap again. Again, tool strength should not be 1. That's why it's looking like off. The tool strength should be a bit low. So we are adding like less opacity, so that it is now overlapping on top of each other with different colors. Play around with all this stuff. Try to create some like nice variations. You're free to use different texture around here, but just remember that based on like cloud texture, the design might be different, and using the super Perlin just worked like so much better for me, because there's like a lot more white areas to paint. Because in previously when I tried, I was using a bit weird color and weird noise, and it had like lots of black, so nothing was getting painted nicely. And you could see we got some nice variation around here like this. So if we compare it to the rest of the world, we get like nice variation around here. You could obviously play and make it completely based on the textures. So if you go into your material, you could make it so that it is completely based on your noise texture by like mixing and matching multiple textures. And you could see if we go down, this is how it looks. And again, it's okay if it does not look perfect, because we are going to add grass on it. Now let's go into our landscape again, and let's select our dirt like this, and let's make our this smaller. And there's some stuff that I want to show you guys. Okay, so I'm going to make this fully tool strength 1. Let me paint like this. Let's make some dark patches. Now one thing is, you could see there is some blending happening, and it looks okay if this is what you want. It is 100% okay to just use this this texture like this, and if you're happy with it, you could 100% use it. But what I like to do is, we can actually add a height blend, and what this does is that it will add some noise texture around here at this corner like this. Because simply, if I, let's say, select my normal brush type and went with 1 or 0 fall off, and let's make this smaller, or let's just do it like this. If I click on it, you could see it's not perfectly circle, right? Because the resolution is low of the landscape, and again, we don't really need big resolution either, simply because it's not good for the game, and again also for performance, right? So even if I'm doing perfectly circle, it's not doing perfect circle. There is like this weird stuff around here, because we are basically doing vertex painting, I think so. So what we need to do is we need to control it via our texture to add some nice variations. It is looking good around here, but right now the road is also big, I think. Maybe let's see if let's do play and see. It is decent size, but you could see it is still a big road, and you could see the noise is also big, which is why this noisiness issue looks okay. But if we were trying to create some smaller roads, it would be like not looking nice like this. So in our landscape, if you go to our layer blend, we can go into the layer. For example, let's do for the dirt layer, not everything, let's just do for dirt. Let's go to a not this one, the dirt layer. Okay, instead of using layer weight blend, we will use height blend. And when we do this, we get another option called hide dirt, and you could think of it as a noise texture that we can apply around here that does a nice blending basically. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select all these three stuff that I made and paste it in here, and let's change this to something like dirt noise blend tile, something like this. And let's use the G channel this time so that we have some variation, and we are just connecting a noise texture in here like this. If we go really close, you could see there's a noise texture that we just applied at the edge of this stuff, or around here too, like this. So wherever the dirt texture connects with another texture, there is this noise blending. It actually applies to the whole texture, I think. Yep, you could see it actually applies to the whole texture like this. So if we were, let's say, just painting a dirt around here, you will not be able to see it in here in the between, but you will be able to see wherever there is a connection between two textures like this. But we still need to do is go into our material instance, and now we have the option of dirt noise blend tile. If we make this smaller, we can see that. So if we actually go to the dirt noise blend tile, you could see that if I increase this, we can get like some nicer one like this. But if I increase a lot, why is it so speed? Okay, you could see this is the tiling. So basically the texture is being applied around here. If we actually made it like really small, we can get like bigger variations or bigger texture applied. So like this, so one texture would be applied like very big like this, and this would allow you to create some nice blending between materials like this. So let's add, and there we go. So nice blending like this. Now if I go and try to paint, you could see I'm not actually able to paint as nicely. So if I just do left click, I'm not able to paint nicely. You have to click like multiple times now. So that's one thing that you need to remember. I am going to paint all of this nicely like this and create a road. Let me just delete this. Okay, again play around with it so that it looks nice. I'm just doing a bad work right now, and you could see this is what we have right now, a nice landscape. Around here we have done some more patchwork manually, and this is just done by our noise texture. And again, if you play around with it more, like do like nice painting and all, put some more effort, it would look like even better. And even in the blending like this, it is doing like nice blends. Now what I want to do is I want to create a material around here wherever there is like slope like this, or this edges like this. And what I would suggest is, if you want to create a really better way to do it, you could watch like Prismatic Dev's video on autocliff material, which he explains or does a better material. But again, I do not know like how that works, which is why I created something that works for me. And maybe it might be enough for you, but if you want like much more higher detailed one, then watch that video and do it that way. But I'm going to create one for myself right now. So we will do is we'll get vertex normal WS. So each material has a vertex normal, right? And it basically faces the direction of your plane. So if I add, let's say a shape of sphere, if I go to this sphere of the static mesh, double click on this one. I think here we can see the vertex normals. So you could see these are the vertex normals which are currently pointed to like outside basically. And vertex normal allows you to have like nice textures and all, or not textures, basically lighting and all. And there are like a lot more stuff that does, but based on the vertex normal, the lighting data can also change. I think it allows the engine to know which direction it is facing and all that stuff. I'm not 100% sure, but I just know that it faces the direction of the plane or wherever the vertex is. You can actually control this vertex normal and make it face any direction that you want, which we would do in the next video for a grass, so that it does not get affected by lighting that much. So just remember, for a vertex normal for this landscape, each vertex normal faces its wherever it is facing direction basically. And with that data we can actually get if it's facing completely up or not. So if I go into this vertex normal and if I do and paste it in the base color, I don't know if it will show or not, but there we go. We get all these weird colors, right? So if I go in here and then I say I want to mask it, the vertex normal basically has 3 data, right? It is X, Y, and Z. So is it facing at the top? Is it facing at the X, which is, you could see, is it facing at the X? Is it facing at the Y? So one thing you could also see that anything that is facing at the top is actually this blue in color, like this. And if it's something like that is facing a bit off, then it is a mixture of like both of these colors based on how much it is facing that direction. But just know that with component mask, we can just say, hey, just give me the blue channel. So out of all these channels, just give me the blue channel, which is the Z1. And if I do this, we can get a white and black data. If I go to unlit, you could see we are now getting a white and black data. And based on this, you could see that based on where it is facing, if it's facing perfectly up, it is completely white because it is facing completely up, right? And wherever there is some slight variation, it is gray in color based on how much it is facing. So if you go into here, you could see this is like way too darker, way too black. Maybe we even do a saturate around here. Saturate basically clamps it, okay? So if the value is more than 1, it will make it to 1. If the value is less than 0, it will make it to 0. I don't think vertex normal values go above 0 and 1, but still I'm adding it. So this node might not even be needed, but I'm not sure. But based on this data, we can actually do more stuff. So right now we are getting data of where this is facing, right? Now if I go in and add a 3 vector and add it as this one, so constant 3 vector, and made it 0, 0, 1, which is basically completely up, right? So we can say that compare this value with 0, 0, 1. So compare this value with the up, which is perfectly up. 0, 0, 1 is perfectly up, right? Because z-axis is up. And the way we can do is by using a dot product. Let's add this around here like this. So we are just comparing the B channel with the 0, 0, 1 with the dot product like this. So one thing I want to tell you guys, that the dot product of 2 vectors. So right now you can see that the way I showed you, like that there's like vector on the circle. Remember how I showed that vertex normals, which are facing everywhere. Similarly, how our vertex normals are facing like this direction or this direction based on the the landscape. And a Z1 will always face up. So a Z1 would always face up because it's 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, because we have added around here, right? 0, 0, 1 like this. So what we are doing is we are comparing each vertex normal which is in the B channel, which is the Z1, with the Z11001, so on the top like this. And the thing about dot product is, if both of these vectors are facing like the same direction, then we get 1. If they are facing like this, where you're 0 like this, so if this is like 1, and then if our vertex normal was facing like this, because this one is RZ, right, then we will get 0. Then if it's facing completely opposite, we will get -1, and this one would also be 0. And when we use this vertex normal dot product, we all get these positive values around here, because this basically turns into a 0 to 1 value, right? Because this is negative and all. So this one gives us, this one also is negative and all. So this one gives us like positive values. So what this actually leads to is anything that is like negative turns to black, right? Or not just black, but anything that is completely, let's say, aligned. So if anything, if the vertex normal is like this, right? So z index is up, which is 0 0 1, which is around here 0 0 1, and our vertex normal is like this, which means that the plane is, for example, if I add a plane, so let's say if I give this plane the same material, you could see right now it is 1 because it is facing completely up. As I make it lower and lower, if this is like perfectly 90, it turns into 0. You could see, oops. So literally the same thing, that if our vertex normal, so for this one the vertex normal are now facing like this, right? Simply because just the how mesh has been made, and anything below that would simply just be lower than, you know, lower than 0, and anything that is lower than 0 is still going to show black. If I keep it rotating like this, it's still being black. If I go up and up, you could see this is where it is like again 90, and then it starts to show the colors like this. So as we keep going like this, up and up and up, our value just keeps increasing, like 0.9, 0.7, 0.3, like 0.1. This values basically give us like nice black and white values. So this one would be black, this would be slightly whiter, this would be more whiter, this would be even more whiter, and fully white like this. So the dot product is a good way to get which direction it is facing, kinda. Is it facing the z index and how much it is facing? So we can use these values to create some nice transition between this stuff. So I'm just going to create a lerp again, and let's connect both of this around here. Let's create like the two values. One would be like fully blue. Let's create this one like fully pink. Let's connect this into the B channel and A channel like this. Let's go into lit mode, and we can kind of see it working, but again, we would like to have more controls over it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this one, create a scalar parameter by holding 1, or you could just type scalar parameter like this, or you could type constant 1. Let's convert this to a parameter and call it as, I guess, height max. And let's convert this to height min like this. This one I'll just make negative phi and phi, place it at the B, place this at the A. Let's do apply. Now if I open the material instance that we created previously, I should now be able to control more stuff like this. Okay. And again, like I said, this one actually isn't like the best way to do it. There is actually another video which is by prismatic dev, and that might be better way to do it. But again, this is something that I understand, which is why I made it this way. And if you want, we can even add a cheap contrast at the end. Let's promote this to contrast and add this around here like this, cheap contrast, and then contrast. If we do negative, we can kind of like play around with it. Okay, so we got a material ready. Let's copy this and paste it around here. If you want, you could even do or take it to another step and create a material function in it, and then so that you could reuse it again and again. I have actually done this before. So if I actually show you my previously created material, so if you check around here, I have actually created a material function. Material function is nothing but a code that you could keep it as its own file, and then you could reuse it and again, so that you don't have to like make it again and again. So if I let's say double click on it, you could see there is a material function. It's very easy to make a material function. Again, I'm not going to make it in this video, but I think it would be just nice way to do it. You just have to go into materials, and then choose like material function like this. You could type like mf slope and all, and then create a materials, what you call material function around there, and then save it like this. All of this is same, right? See, vertex normal, max p, 1, height max, contrast, and all this stuff. So you don't have to like make it again and again, and then you just simply, you could just drag your material slope like this and add it around here. I'm just going to keep it like this for now. Here's what I'm going to do. So in a grass layer, I'm going to create another lerp, because we now need to do lerp based on this, right? So based on where it is white and where is it black, we need to add some different materials. So wherever there is white, we will add this one. So let's connect it. Let's do apply. Let's see how this goes. We haven't really connected this one. So you could see that actually we did it opposite, which is perfect. No, so wherever there is black, we added our grass material, and wherever there is white, we will add another color. And ideally you could add like a full texture around here, which is like a better way with like multiple textures and all. So let me just copy this and call it as like cliff color, I don't know, and add it around here. Now if I go around here, choose the cliff color, we can choose whatever color that we want for the edge. Again, do the same stuff that I did around here, where we use like a noise texture to do like add some blur between this one and add it to the whole color. You could even do another noise texture, use 2 different colors and then add it around here, so that it is not just like one single color. And again, play around with values with the height max and height min like this to get some nice stuff like this. Another thing you might see that this one is like not completely same color as this one, and that is because it is actually using like different colors, right? So for example, if we go in here, if we go and check around here too, it is also looking perfect, but not here, simply because if we go into our material, which is this one, so we have added it to the base grass layer. You could see this all has been added, the slope function, to the base grass layer. So if we paint anything on top of it, it kind of this old grass and fresh grass, if we paint on top of it, it is going to be different because we have painted all of these layers on top of it. So the way to fix it is like very easy. You could go into your base grass and then basically paint it so that it is using the base grass layer around here. And if you look at like lots of different games, what they actually do is, rather than using like colors, they use textures, like grass textures around here. Same with the cliff, they use textures around here, and that way you could add some nice textures instead of using like one single color. Again, your choice, what you need to do and what you don't. So yeah, goodbye, like and subscribe, and that's all.